Hello, and welcome to the next chapter of The Big Answer, the single biggest answer to life's biggest questions. If you haven't, please start with the video titled Book 1, Intro to the Big Answer, and watch the chapters before this one, as we are building on the information covered in these videos. In the previous two videos, we explained why living things will inevitably evolve value systems based on the 7 qualities needed to exist, as well as how those same qualities can explain values that have nothing to do with survival. In this video, we'll be building on that to explain spirituality and altruism. To do that, we're going to need to start by understanding the concept of emergence. The first 4 qualities we covered, order, complexity, stability, and distinctiveness, are the 4 qualities that everything needs to qualify as existing, right down to the smallest building blocks of our universe: elementary particles, quarks, electrons, bosons, leptons, etc. Everything larger is built out of something smaller. For example, quarks come together to form neutrons and protons, which combine with electrons to make atoms, and those come together to make molecules, which together can make a cell, and those can make a person, with the cells in the brain, the neurons, giving rise to the person's consciousness, personality, likes and dislikes, etc., and people giving rise to families, societies, etc. At each stage, the new thing created has properties that the parts don't have. For example, the parts of an atom don't interact with light, so have no color, but an atom can interact with light and therefore does have color. One neuron can't like chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream. No single part on an airplane is able to fly. That requires all the parts working together. If the parts were rearranged or stopped interacting with each other, and were instead just spread out on the floor or piled in a random heap, they wouldn't create that new whole. It's only when they have a specific arrangement and slash or interaction that the whole can emerge, a whole with new emergent principles. And that event is called, appropriately enough, emergence, which we'll cover in even more detail in future videos. If you remember, we called the specific arrangement and/or interaction of the parts that gives rise to the whole dynamics, the 5th quality. In the case of a painting of a tree, nothing is moving, so it's the arrangement of the blobs of paint that's important. In a society, the physical arrangement doesn't matter as much as the interaction. In the case of your brain, both the specific arrangement and interaction are needed. If the paint was rearranged, that would destroy the original painting. If people stopped interacting, then society would break down. If your neurons got scrambled or simply stopped firing, you would no longer exist. This is why dynamics is necessary for existence and why, if it is reduced, this objectively leads to the deterioration or destruction of the whole. The dynamic of the parts also needs to have other qualities for something to emerge from that interaction. This introduces us to the idea that actually all the qualities are, themselves, better when the other qualities apply to them. Briefly, as this is a little off topic, the order is better when it's stable and distinct. Complexity, in turn, is better when it's orderly and stable. Stability that is gained by being dynamic is stabler than stability that is rigid, and stability is automatically enhanced when resourcefulness and efficiency are both increased. For emergence, the dynamic itself needs to display new emergent principles, and those new principles need to be orderly, complex, stable, and distinct for a new whole to emerge from them that has all those qualities at an even higher level. So when something new emerges, it contains all of the 7 qualities of the parts, the qualities present in the dynamic of those parts, as well as the emergent properties of the whole. This explains what there is more of when we say something is more than the sum of its parts. It has more principles, and that also means more of the 7 qualities can be embodied by those principles. And because this emergent whole embodies more of the 7 qualities, this beautifully explains why something can be seen as the greater good. Since the 7 qualities are the root of all value judgments of good, and there are more of them in the emergent whole, this makes total sense now. If a whole has parts that aren't critical to its existence, then those parts become sacrificial. We can't sacrifice every skin cell, but we lose tens of thousands of skin cells a day without noticing. Similarly, tens of thousands of people can die in a society every day without the society being affected. This easily explains altruism. By understanding emergence, we can now see why one would sacrifice a part for the whole, whether that's sacrificing a limb to save a person, such as throwing up your arm when being attacked by a lion, or sacrificing a person to save a family or society or religion or value, such as freedom, that the person sees as representing or supporting the greater good, such as joining the military or trying to stop a mass shooter. We don't need to sacrifice our lives. We could just sacrifice our time or money or energy. We might also sacrifice the expression of some of our principles, such as loving going out dancing a few times a week, to spend more time and energy on our family, if we think that will result in the biggest increase in the 7 qualities, all things considered. In every case, altruistic acts are done when it is perceived that sacrificing a smaller amount of the 7 qualities in one area will achieve more of the 7 qualities overall. What's more, it explains why it is actually beautiful to be literally a part of something bigger, whether that's being a part of a couple or a family, a band, a sorority or fraternity, a cause, a religion, a political party, a citizen of a town or country, a social class, a profession, or connecting with being a part of nature or the universe. When we become a part of something bigger, we experience that higher level of the 7 qualities that the whole achieves. I believe this explains spiritual feelings and experiences. We connect with being part of the universe, or Gaia, or God's creation, or whatever way of thinking of it works for you. Going the other way, we can also have spiritual experiences by becoming aware of the vast amount of the 7 qualities that are present within our minds and bodies that we normally take for granted and which go unnoticed. While meditating on this, we can also become aware of our inner mental processes and move them towards being more in line with the 7 qualities as well. One important thing about this concept is that if the parts or their dynamic lack the 7 qualities, that can undermine the whole. Disorderly people or orderly individuals that can't figure out how to act together in orderly ways can't make an orderly society. So one goal of a whole is to enhance the 7 qualities of its parts and their dynamic. A good society will do this. However, a society that undermines the 7 qualities of the parts or their dynamic instead of reinforcing them not only undermines itself, it also becomes the greater bad for its own parts. In this case, in order to enhance or preserve, or prevent the further deterioration of the 7 qualities, it would actually be worth sacrificing oneself to bring down the society that represents the greater bad and overthrow it, such as the French Revolution, where they overthrew the monarchy and became a republic. As with other things we've shown, the big answer is totally comfortable explaining. I want to stress that all we're doing is showing that it can explain everything we value, not proving that it is the actual explanation. I'm just hoping to show that it deserves serious attention and consideration. Using it as a tool to discover new insights or strategies for living life must always be checked back against our feelings and instincts. And if it doesn't feel right, don't use the big answer to justify doing it anyway. So, there we have it. The big answer, when combined with the concept of emergence, can offer a complete, self-contained, objective explanation for the greater good, the concept of something being more than the sum of its parts, altruism, and spirituality. Hopefully, with that being clear, we will continue in the next video looking at how the big answer can explain the goal of all living things and how everything we do can be seen as a strategy to achieve this goal. We haven't thought this was possible because without knowing the real goal, we've mistakenly elevated strategies to the status of goals, rules, ideals, etc., and pursued these dogmatically, with different groups claiming they have the right answer, but only having one of many possible strategies. I'll see you in the next video, Chapter 5. TBA has no rules. And in the meantime, do good smart.